Alright, welcome back, Saints Nation. Game number 2 just about to get underway here for our St. Clair squad, as Ciriuhs has himself a bit more of a quieter landing this time by. Gonna get things started off nice and quick. Load up 100, good to go. And all the Saints nice and spread out, get as much possible looting as possible. And looks like they're going to be not yellow this time by. We're going to be shown by these little orange arrows they do see here on the map. Started things off very similarly. The way the battle bus traveled this time by, that this west side was basically the final stop, so the Saints going to be a little bit slow to get to their looting, but we'll have to take a look in a second with how that affects in regards to the Storm's safe zone positioning right off the start. We're going to actually take a look and see how far they actually have to go here. It's a decent little bit of a distance in order to get to the safe zone. We have the possibility of a couple of battles here in the distance as well, considering down by Sweaty Sands, it looks like there's already 2 teams engaging in that area. And then Noms, Burrito, we've seen them a little bit in the last game as well, going to be taking the Holly Hedges once again. So Juneyy's got to be careful not to get picked out being so far down south compared to the rest of the squad. We do see Ciriuhs and Juneyy making the, or Laysix as well, making the call out that they're going to go to Sweaty Sands. And if that's exactly where they're going to be looking for, they are on a crash course for a battle, to say the least, off the start here. The original loot here for Laysix, that was, I believe, an assault rifle and a shotgun. Ciriuhs, bit of a similar loadout, except with a pistol as well and a little bit of healing. Juneyy does have the crossbow alongside his assault rifle and shotgun, and a ton of first aid kits. Could very well come into handy considering how far they have to travel for the storm. Make sure that they can stay in the storm as long as possible, but get everybody all topped up to 100% health at a moment's notice if necessary. And oh, you didn't have enough health kits, he said, for first aid kits. How about another one and a harpoon here for Juneyy, and a nice shotgun as well. Nicely done here for Juneyy. They're going to be sitting pretty in these close quarters scenarios, especially if they do end up finding themselves an engagement when they do make their way towards Sweaty Sands. Of course, after game number 1, Saints with 20 points after making their way close to, or that they got themselves at least into the top 20 in regards to their finishing position, and then got themselves 2 eliminations on top of that from the shots from Ciriuhs. So sitting there with a nice solid 20. They were in 17th. Of course, the running thing that you're going to need to know if you're just joining in is that 15 is the magic number here for the Saints. They need to make it into the top 15 here in these play versus Fortnite trios qualifying heats for the playoffs. Definitely a mouthful to end up saying over and over again here, but yeah, we want to get number 15, and we see Laysix already taking a peek towards Sweaty Sands and getting poked out a little bit here. Going to be taking 1 shot of damage, as there's still 2 teams kind of battling on back and forth. If anything, the Saints have an opportunity to be the third party here. They didn't necessarily make do with it earlier in game number 1 when they were down by the bridge. They kind of got the jump onto 2 teams there, but they just ended up kind of poking on, calling it a day. They didn't want to give up that finishing position by trying to take it too early of an engagement. Eventually, once it got down into the later stages of the game, you did see like Burrito kind of force the issue there with the Saints. Did, I believe, take Laysix down rather quickly. Eventually, Juneyy kind of was short to follow, but Ciriuhs was able to kind of try and solo hero it a little bit towards the end. Speaking of Burrito and YouTube Green and Noms down at the bottom, but we do have to keep an eye up here at the top as well. It looks like the team that was battling out with Hockey, Axe, and Crush seem to have gotten themselves eliminated, so the yellow team putting some kills on the board there for themselves. I wonder if this will allow us to see exactly who's leading in regards to eliminations. And I still don't see anything in regards to the teams that we're looking at here, so either they ran away or they got picked off by somebody else. But in the meantime, we'll hop back in here with our Saints squad. With them being uncontested, they get to basically do their farming route for pretty well free. Go into whatever NPCs they possibly want to go to and get all loaded up and good to go before making it towards the first zone. They're going to completely bypass the sweaty sands, it looks like. Not going to bother with it, and they're just going to try and make the beeline, which if they do continue on this pathway, they are on a crash course here with Burrito, Noms, and Green. Do spot them actually up ahead here. Juneyy in the driver's seat. Is he going to opt to try and chase them down, or maybe try to take a more evasive maneuver? We'll have to see momentarily. If anything, it looks like they're actually just going to take a stop for a second. Juney's going to scout to make sure that they don't turn around on them, which actually was a good thing, because if you do see over in the minimap, that purple squad, they did stop for a good second there. We're waiting to see if the Saints would turn on them. Know that purple squad would absolutely love to get themselves hands on a couple possible eliminations. Saints not going to give it to them, however, and going to opt to walk it all the way to the zip line. Keeping an eye on the bridge. We know nobody's there, but of course, what we see and what they see are two completely different things. So is everybody in the car? Is that what's going on here? Why does this look like this? I guess we're doing first-person view Fortnite. I didn't think that was a possible thing. I thought this was always a third-person game. There we go. We have teleported into the Weeping Woods, and we're good to go now. Now we're back in the car. But anyway, looks like everybody's loaded up in the car. They're taking their time for a second here. They don't want to get caught out in anything. Looks like free cam it for a second. What's all happening here? What's the hold up? Okay, so we're just by the house. And they're really trying to be cautious here. I don't know if they're just trying to avoid any sort of engagement with what they think is that purple team from earlier, or did they spot out the yellow team over to the side? Either way, they're still standing still. The storm has arrived. This is almost making me feel like there's some sort of technical difficulty, but at the same time, even if so, they need to make moving, and okay, they are just going to teleport away from us. Where did they go? Let's chase them down, why don't we? We are actually in the safe zone. A little bit of a fun time here with Fortnite spectator system, but hey, it's good to see the Saints are all A-okay here as the storm is just about to finish on up. Still loading up on loot. And let's take a look and see what the situation is here. So, okay, they did end up making it in. They're going to have to move even further here, and that is going to be a very tough cliffside for the Saints to try and break through, as we do have a couple players on basically both ends. They could try and cut through right through the middle, but there's going to be teams on both ends, and sure enough, Laysix is going to spot one of the players up on the top of that sniper tower and going to get a quick shot or two in regards to some shield damage, so not going to let them go easy, but at the same time, they don't necessarily have the cover to really try and make the plays right here. They're going to just beeline it through the center. Shots are fired. Ciriuhs going to try and give them a little bit of cover, at least, in the small woodwork here. So far, A-okay, just using a couple boards just to keep themselves kind of covered up a little bit. Juneyy following suit, keeping an eye on those sniper towers, of course. Catch somebody with a headshot, that is a lot of damage, but it's still not going to be enough for a one-shot unless they're already injured. Right along with Juneyy, we see the marker that they just placed on forward. They're going to try and take it all the way down, across this field, across this river to the treetops, and see if they can get themselves into Lazy Lake just fine. However, there is another team just on the horizons, just up here, the light blue squad. Who do we have just building up over here? Let's take a look and see what they're on up to. Are they going to fortify? They're going to wait, or is there going to be some other teams on the run? It looks like they are on the run to the point where my camera is having a hard time even catching up to them. These guys are schmoving. So while we wait to see who that is, let's hop on back here with our Saints. 2 players, 3 teams actually. I didn't even see the purple team kind of camouflaged in, but they are going to make a beeline. They must be in a vehicle or something, because they just absolutely got out of dodge nice and fast. And sure enough, that is them right there. They took to the skies. Juneyy trying to get some shots. Does find a shot with a little bit of shield damage done. Ciriuhs and Laysix did take some shield damage in the process, as there's a couple more teams on a collision course here with them here on Lazy Lake. Laysix, couple shots, didn't catch the player crossing. Juneyy might have the view on it. We'll see it in a second. Doesn't look like it's going to quite be the case here. Ciriuhs not going to find anybody as of yet from the high ground. He's going to try and make something happen. There is somebody a little bit higher than him, though. Does have to keep a very cautious playstyle with that regard. It's not want to just try and just absolutely send it when there's somebody who could shoot down on you. BP is knocked down here, it looks like, which is one of the players that actually won in the last game for game number 1. So sure enough, it is going to be finished off. So that's actually a pretty huge kill in regards to the possible results later on down this road. It's could maybe make a try to make a play rather on one of these players that was leading the leaderboards. That being said, though, Ciriuhs took a ton of damage. It's going to be stuck trying to heal up for a second. But of course, with Juneyy having as many first aid meds as he did from the early game, just leave one off for his partner and then be a-okay for himself even still. Laysix on the low ground. Juneyy a little bit higher. Ciriuhs still topping off in the building nice and safe. So Saints not in a bad position. But considering the amount of action that has been going on all around the Saints, there hasn't actually been that very many casualties in regards to teams. Still 30 teams left in this game. 84 players to be specific out of the 96 that did join us here in the lobby this time by. So to think about it, next team that goes down will get absolutely nothing in regards to points. See Ciriuhs in a very interesting predicament. Teams on both sides. Does he expose the fact that he is here and try to take a shot? He's going to try now. Does get a little bit of heat onto one of the players on the low ground. Can he possibly finish this off, however? We'll have to see here in a moment. A little bit of back and forth healing game going on. A couple players do end up going down, but that pink player he was shooting at is not going to be one of the casualties. He gets the jump onto one of them, however, some good damage. It's like 60 damage or so done to the player, but he exposes himself, and he is going to get absolutely slammed for this. He is going to have to run for the hills, and actually, if anything, he's going to run for the low ground, try to use this building for some cover, and he's going to be safe. Storm not going to quite bug him just yet. He does have about another 30 seconds before that storm does get moving. Laysix and Juneyy still in the high ground that they had built together earlier. In fine position. Now they're going to get ready to make their move. How long do they want to wait for the storm to get moving here before they actually start moving themselves? As we do see in the mini-map too, maybe, no, it's actually like 4 teams all on the fringe, right where the storm is. As soon as it starts moving, it's going to really put pressure on those teams to start moving their way forward, and that is going to be very, very tough for them to try and get through, especially since you have the Saints, you have other teams right on the fringe of the area as well. We're absolutely there, ready to rock, catch themselves a straggler. They'd love nothing more than to catch a straggler and get themselves some free eliminations, because right now, Saints, that hasn't necessarily been their highest point here in just the one game anyway. Of course, 2 eliminations is better than nothing, but considering you can get up to 40 points off of 20 eliminations, it's a lot to be left on the table. That is the longest piece of steel I've ever seen. That's a funny little visual bug, but teams slowly but surely are starting to fall. How did Juneyy shoot through that little hole and find the shot? That was a good little shot there, but now the complex here alongside Steel Gremlin. Possible engagement ready to go here for these 2 teams. Let's quickly hop on over to free cam. No, let's not actually. So, Steve Gremlin right there. Yellow team up in the high ground as well. It's starting to get a little crowded here. So we can see the outlines of multiple teams on the position of the Sinclair squad. Juneyy making his way through. There's Nom's Burrito and YouTube Green. Green 1X, rather. Laysix is basically in a bit of a flanking position compared to the rest of his team, but that's so dangerous considering the flanker could basically get flanked because there's so many players still left in this game. Ciriuhs and Juneyy going to buddy system this, and okay, they do eventually meet up here with Laysix, who is going to try and basically lead the charge with the building and start moving on forward. Katana in hand, trying to make his way closer to the safe zone. Does start moving within the next minute or so. Another 45 seconds, and we will see that storm start moving, and then the pressure is not going to be on, or not only on the same teams as last time, who just barely squeaked their way in, but it's now going to be in, like, pressuring the Saints as well. They're on the outside looking in as of this point, and some of these teams fortified in the safe zone already is going to make things extremely uncomfortable. We do see a couple teams on the run here. Laysix getting a couple pot shots, but not quite going to take anybody down. Where is Ciriuhs on the high ground, kind of prairie dogging it alongside Laysix? Where's Juneyy? Right there as well. So all the Saints together, ready to rock, but they need to get ready to move. 10 seconds or so before the storm starts moving, and they're one of the ones on the outsides looking in. They're going to make a run for it, but being one of the last ones to make their move, they're going to catch everybody else who's trying to make a move, but they could also leave themselves out as sitting ducks if they are not careful. We'll have to see what happens in just a second here, as there was 24 teams still left in this game. 66 players. We'll have to see as soon as the buffer does end up going down what the damage ends up actually being here. Kind of teleport in a little bit closer to the spot, but as you can see, there's still so many players nearby, and it's going to make things extremely uncomfortable here for the Saints. Let's try and get ourselves a better look here. We see Ciriuhs, Juneyy, and Laysix all on the low ground, but literally right above them. But this is actually a nice little move here from the Saints. With all the action happening up top, they're going to try and tunnel it. They're going to try and take the bottom and just survive at this point. A couple shots fired there from a couple of the teams on the outside as well, looking on in, but not quite enough to actually get anything done. With 4 or 5 teams above them, all kind of dealing with themselves, Ciriuhs, Laysix, and Juneyy get the opportunity to possibly make their way in for free. And as I say that, Ciriuhs getting a little bit peppered here. We'll have to see how he hangs on. He was knocked down to about 50. Juneyy and Laysix still very healthy in this scenario. If it does end up being close quarters combat, however, Ciriuhs, of course, does have that legendary level shotgun. Maximum accuracy, maximum damage possible. Some good shots here from Juneyy, actually going to catch this purple team here with their wall down, and he is finding a lot of shield damage and even some health taken off of the players from across the side. Normally Juneyy, one of the more supportive players here on the St. Clair squad, but it is really good to see that even his elimination game has gone up considerably, and landing a lot of very good shots here in this second game. That one of those red players knocked down, but not quite downed as of yet. Juneyy knows they're down, but just can't quite finish them off. Ciriuhs lining up here with Laysix as well. They're slowly trying to get closer and closer. One thing they have to keep an eye on, though, they have a minute to get themselves into the safe zone. As we can see, the storm is moving in on them. I'm sure they're already on the move as we speak, and they're actually going to get themselves right on the fringe of the safe zone. They basically let the kills go and just make their move towards safety. Let's take a look again at what the situation is here for the squad as they are making their move into the safe zone. We can see everybody absolutely on the run, trying to get to safety. Back and forth battles all across the field. But where is our squad? Is this them here? That is not them. Let's try and take a look and see exactly where they are. They are actually point blank here, and Ciriuhs is going to find himself an elimination via the shotgun. Point blank there, so nicely done there. Of course, an absolute mess here. Saints are really forced to heal at this point. Laysix was so hurt, but thankfully, again, the first aid kits coming from Juneyy coming in clutch here. Make a click as they're loading. Note to self, don't make a click while they're loading or while it's buffering. We'll hop back into the swing of things here and try this again and see if we can... Come on now. Okay, come on. Game not quite cooperating here with me today, so let's hop on back. All the Saints nice and safe, but that feeling of safety is only temporary here in Fortnite, as they're going to have to run once again back through the storm. Laysix here, not going to be afraid to take some damage from the Storm as long as they can find a spot to heal after the fact. You see the first aid kit in hand. Ciriuhs moving forward as well. As the Harpoon, going to try and look for some additional loot as he's on the move, possibly. Laysix took some heat down without any shields as of this moment. Any bullet he takes at this point is definitely going to be brutal, but it is going to be Juneyy coming in clutch here to find the elimination on one of these players that they just happen to come across. So it's going to be 2 eliminations on the board here for St. Clair. Make that a 3rd here as Ciriuhs finds one, but it's not looking too good here for the Saints as everybody has fallen just out of nowhere, it seems. They just all end up going down. Ciriuhs is going to have to try and hero this one up here as the lone Saints up against the world. He's going to walk into 3. This is going to be absolutely brutal. He's going to try and go down fighting, try and find one more, but that's not going to be enough. The Saints are going to go down relatively early here in regards to the late game. I think that's maybe 13th. So actually, in regards to positioning, not terrible. So not too bad. We'll see exactly where they end up a little bit later on. Let's take a look at this late game battle. We have some new threats here up in the high grounds. Got Gage, Exceed, and who's this? Elite Connor here with the high ground. This is exactly like I was saying before, exactly where you want to be. The complex, we've seen him a little bit early. We got the fishing duo of Derpy and Dylan still alive here in this game. 8 teams still to go, but slowly but surely more and more players falling here in this game. Steve Gremlin a little bit separated from the squad, but they do end up regrouping. We do see some of those Stinkfish crossbows coming into clutch up against this light blue squad. The blue squad is actually going to go battling it out shot for shot here. And actually, they end up Gage and Elite Connor, who are up on the high ground. They're just going to go for blood at this point. They're going to try and make this one happen right here, right now. We're going to hop on here with Gage, who jumped on in. Going to try and make a kill onto fishing duo, or yeah, on the fishing duo, but Derpy is fishing, just found himself a triple kill. That is going to be absolutely juicy here for the points, and you can see how crazy this squad is here of Elite Connor, Exceed, and Gage, considering they're sitting at 95 points so far within 2 games. That is an absolute brutal score count, to say the least. Put themselves in a fantastic position to move to Thursday's games. There are a lot of teams I know who won't make that amount of points in 6 games, let alone to have it in 2. So nicely done from them. And they still have the high ground here. There's only 3 teams left, and they have all 3 members still alive here. Derpy is fishing, trying to make something happen here alongside Dylan. Just over and over, shots fired. Ideal play, and the complex down there as well. And Derpy is going to go down 1 for 1. Steve going to get one. There's going to be another one there from Gage. And it's looking like we have ourselves a 3-on-3 to finish this one off. And they're going to get things started. Gage is going to be the first one to dive on in. Going to take a little bit of shield damage. Keeps himself in relatively decent health, just dodging and bobbing and weaving throughout the storm. One goes down, Ideal Clay. There goes Complex, and sure enough, the high ground remains victorious once again, as it is going to be Exceed, Elite Connor, and Gage going to be the successful victors, getting that victory royale here in game number 2. Definitely a interesting one. We have ourselves, of course, some new players possibly on top after that one. We did see early in game number 2 the past winners from game number 1, Meepy and his squad. They got wiped out pretty quickly, so it does definitely throw a wrench into things here. We'll have to see exactly how much of a wrench that throws into things in just a moment. Try and catch up with our session leaderboard. Of course, if you want to catch it all updating live with us, be sure to type in the Twitch chat !standings, and the Fortnite tracker will pop on up, and you can see exactly where our Saints are standing at any moment's notice. And as of right now, it's going to be, let's quickly throw it on over to our screen once again here. We do have Ciriuhs, Juneyy, and Laysix going to be sitting in 18th now, as we do see, of course, the squad that keeps landing right next to us, Noms, Green X, and Burrito. Going to take that 17th spot. We're sitting not too badly with 52 points. That's not bad in the slightest, but a couple of these teams looking very, very strong here. We did see Sergeant and Creator a little bit earlier as well. We're following the action of Parkour and Twin and Ranster a bit earlier as well. Solid squad. And where is our lead squad here? So there's Elite, Connor, Exceed, Engage. The winners of game number 2, sitting with 109 points. Not bad at all. The players that got second place there, Ideal Play, Complex, and Steve Gremlin right there as well. And then the fishing duo with Arrow CK currently leading this group with 135. So a lot of strong players here in this one. And actually, do you even see Meepy? Okay, we do. Toasty Waffles, Meepy, and Kapler. They were first after that first game, but just unfortunately for them, got caught out early. Still plenty of action here to go. However, we're going to take a very quick break before we hop into game number 3, the halfway point here of this series. Saints have a little bit of work to do, but they're right on doorstep. Don't go anywhere. It's just heating up.